The neural collars had been active for 3 years when the first Keth ship fell silent. Commander Vex stared at the dead signal on his console, his four-fingered hands trembling with something the Keth rarely experienced: fear. The mining vessel, Eternal Pursuit, had simply vanished from their network, taking with it 200 Keth crew members and 50 human slaves. Another ship lost to the Void Plague, reported his second-in-command, Null. That makes 17 vessels this cycle. Vex's mandibles clicked in frustration. The Void Plague had appeared 6 months ago, a mysterious phenomenon that drained all energy from Keth technology, leaving their ships as lifeless husks drifting in space. Their finest scientists couldn't explain it, their most advanced AI couldn't predict it, and their military couldn't fight it, but the humans could survive it. On Earth, Dr. Ben Foster monitored the neural collar readings from his laboratory prison. The Keth had conquered humanity 3 years prior, viewing them as primitive creatures useful only for manual labor. The collars suppressed human creativity and independent thought, or so the Keth believed. What they didn't understand was that human consciousness was far more complex than their scanners indicated. The collars suppressed surface thoughts, but deeper layers of intuition, emotion, and instinct remained untouched. Qualities the Keth had evolved away from over millennia. "Pattern is accelerating," whispered Lisa, his research partner, keeping her voice below the collar's audio sensors. They had learned to communicate through micro-expressions and subtle gestures, skills that came naturally to humans but were incomprehensible to their logical captors. Ben nodded slightly. He had been tracking the Void Plague's movements, and, unlike the Keth, he could see what they missed. The phenomenon wasn't random. It followed emotional resonance patterns drawn to areas of high technological dependence and low biological diversity. The Keth's sterile, purely synthetic environments were perfect targets. The plague had a consciousness of sorts, one that fed on artificial intelligence and technology while avoiding organic neural networks. It was repelled by chaos, creativity, and the unpredictable firing patterns of biological brains, especially human brains, with their chaotic mix of logic and emotion. When the plague struck the Earth facility, Ben watched the Keth panic as their systems failed one by one. Emergency lights flickered and died. Life support systems shut down. The neural collars, dependent on Keth technology, went silent. For the first time in 3 years, humans could think freely. "We need to get to the communication array," Ben told the other humans as they gathered in the darkened corridors. There were 67 of them in this facility, scientists, engineers, and workers who had been captured during the invasion. "Why would we help them?" demanded Rick, a former military engineer. "Let them die like they let millions of us die." Ben understood the anger, but he also understood something else. Because that's what makes us human. We save people, even people who've wronged us. And because if we don't, that thing out there will consume everything. The journey to the communication center was treacherous. Emergency systems had failed and the facility was in complete darkness. But humans had evolved to navigate by touch, sound, and instinct. They moved like ghosts through the corridors while the Keith stumbled blindly. At the communication array, Ben began working by feel alone, his hands remembering the layout from months of forced labor. The Keth technology was sophisticated but rigid, designed with perfect logical pathways. Human technology had always been more chaotic, more adaptable. He began rewiring the system, not following the precise Keth schematics, but trusting his intuition. Where Keth engineers would have programmed elegant solutions, Ben created something messy, biological, unpredictable. "What are you doing?" Vex's voice came from the darkness. The Keth commander had found them, his bioluminescent spots providing the only light in the room. "Saving your species," Ben replied, not looking up from his work. "The Void Plague feeds on artificial intelligence. Your technology is too perfect, too predictable. It needs chaos, biological interference, something the plague can't digest." "Impossible. Our systems are superior to your primitive technology. That's exactly the problem." Ben finished his modifications and activated the system. Instead of the clean, efficient Keth interface, The communication array now ran on human-modified protocols. Messy, emotional, intuitive. The system hummed to life, powered not by precise algorithms but by chaotic human creativity. The signal it broadcast wasn't the sterile mathematical patterns the Keth preferred, but something organic, random, alive. Across the galaxy, the Void Plague recoiled from the transmission. The chaotic human patterns were antithetical to its nature, creating a resonance that disrupted its ability to feed on artificial systems. One by one, Keth ships began reporting successful plague repulsion. The organism, unable to process the biological chaos in the human-modified signals, retreated to the dark spaces between stars. Commander Vex stared at Ben in the flickering light of the restored emergency systems. "How did you know this would work?" "Because humans understand something you've forgotten," Ben replied. "Perfection is fragile. Chaos is resilient. You tried to control us because you thought our unpredictability was weakness, but it was always our greatest strength." Yui, neural collars remained silent. The Kith, faced with the reality that their former slaves had become their saviors, could no longer justify the illusion of superiority. "What do you want from us?" Vex asked quietly. Ben looked around at his fellow humans, then back at the alien. "Commander, to go home, to live free, and maybe to work together. The universe is full of things that want to destroy us all. Maybe it's time we stopped fighting each other." In the months that followed, humanity's chaotic creativity became the foundation for a new kind of technology, one that was immune to the Void Plague and dozens of other digital parasites that threatened all spacefaring civilizations. The Keth learned that true strength wasn't found in perfect control, but in the beautiful, unpredictable resilience of biological consciousness. And humanity learned that their greatest weapon had never been their technology or their numbers. It had always been their humanity itself.